I would like to give you an update on ODF 3. I was a long-time developer for some Microsoft and Oracle, and when Oracle dismissed all the open office developers, I decided to continue my work, so I became a freelancer and continued my work on the ODF change tracking, where I'm currently the chair of the subcommittee for the advanced document configuration. And I will give you a short introduction about standards and what we're going on, and finally the status and about everything. So when coming to Switzerland, it became apparent why we need standards. It's everybody needs a plug adapter, and this is just grotesque. We don't want to have this. It just disturbs the user. This is exactly what's the problem. We need standards so different implementers can rely on it or can build their implementation on it. And there's especially a reason for the ODF standard because we need other implementers to be able to continue to work on the same ODF document of a user. So the idea is you save your document, you send it to another user, he loads his ODF application and continues to work. So the promise. And there are two things that are important. First is specification, which is like a blueprint. It's a recipe like you read for making a cake, and it's, as I said, specifying the model, like the shop frozen document we're working on. Okay. So another thing which is very important is that all tests are written against the specification, so the tests are comparable. And in the specification there are three types of features which are formal. They are mandatory, then the validator would write an error, or it's a possible feature, it should, and then it's a warning if it's not existing, and if it's existing, then it's a notification. And of course there's a technical committee that's currently coming together by a conference call every 2 weeks, and there's a place where issues can be filed, where every one of you can send something on a command list. Like 2 years ago, I asked you to send your research of your first presentation today to this subcommittee, so it can be built on top. And there's a base for interoperability, which is quite nice. It's just like a leverage. So instead of writing issue to every single implementation, it's kind of fix it in the blueprint. That's quite nice. You might have heard that there's Oasis and ISO, and in general, there's only ISO and all the other standards. ISO is very special. Oasis is something where individuals and companies can become members. Like I'm an individual member as a freelancer of Oasis, and some used Oasis, while ECMA is similar good, and that is being used by Microsoft for its standardization. And they were chosen because it's very easy to get in there, and they're quite fast to evolve a standard. The other thing, which is also very important, is ISO, that was created after the Second World War. They didn't want to have a world on trade things like if you buy iron from Japan, then Japan. Okay, sorry for my English. It's not standardized. It's then you want to have some level you can agree on, like the amount of iron that's in the thing you are working. Some leverage, like even the paper size has been standardized, so it can be exchanged or something on trust on it. Okay, and in this ISO, every country has a national body for itself. Like in Germany, it's the DIN, and the very interesting part is that the nation can predict or can say by jury can mandate to use the standard. Like what happened recently in Great Britain, that ODF should be used for the public sector. And especially of interest is the promise that Microsoft has made to the European Commission to avoid cartel law accusation, because there was danger that the company was being split over the high amount to be paid, was to implement every ISO standard 9 months after publication. Sometimes they do it earlier because they promise their the customer not to change major features in a version, right? Okay. But there are also dark side. Not everybody loves standards, and you might have known this from XKCD. Situation that 14 standards and people come together, oh, 14 standards, we have to do something against it, and yes, they do it, and after that, now they have 50 competing standards. Well, you smile about it, and there's something true about it, because they're very hard to get rid of after a while. Yeah? So look at the office world. We have now two competing standards, ODF and XML, where basically Sun was quite clever to map their XML when they realized they need to go from binary to XML, or they desired earlier. Marco Burris, the owner of StarOffice, to avoid the UTF-8 problem with arrayable language and so on. He decided to suggested that this should even become a standard, which was a pretty nice idea, because countries look at ISO standards. They are very important for the governments, right? And that's why Microsoft had to work on. Otherwise, I believe it would become like a domino chain. First the country, then the larger companies dealing with the country, and so everyone would suddenly use ODF, and that would be the worst case scenario for them. And indeed, there are some things that could be done much better, like currently there are no requirements that are tests on the standard. There are sometimes, I recently found out that JPEG 2000s get a whole test suite at ISO level, and but it should be mandated that there's a test document for every feature, and that it's also possible to, when there's a new version, that all the features that have been changed are being moved to the new feature set. There was a problem, or there's a problem, that there exist currently two different concurrent list models. One of 102, which is new, and one of 101, yes. And this should not happen. There should be no redundancy. And another thing, machine-readable file specs should be. Especially, there are a lot of standards. There are some for the health standards, but there's a certain group like a file standard, like JPEG, HTML, and so on. And it's all about how to read a file, extract the information, and then write a parser and access this, and modify this information and store it back. And the question is, why can't this information, how it's been done, not be done in a more machine-readable way? So it's not that it's like you write it down, and then you have to read it again. One is writing it down, the other one is reading again. And during this process, some misunderstanding happens, and we got defects. ODF 102 is one of the small signs of it. I don't know anymore who are aware of changes like the default values are being formatted in a certain way and can be extracted by XLT, for instance. And so they are only applied and changed on one standard thing. Another thing is what happens to standards is that it's bad design. When in the earlier times, like PDF 1.0, the standard was just a description of behavior. They exactly describe how Acrobat behaves. And from time to time, it happens also for ODF or XML, because all of them have been written in a very fast time for the 1.0 version, but mostly it's been more and more formal. Up to now, there's no grammar for PDF, for instance, and it's just being given as a draft at the ISO level, because Adobe got so many problems with so many broken files. It's of PDF, right? Okay. Another thing is redundancy. We had this discussion earlier. Also that, for instance, spans can be nested. So you cannot do XML comparisons or text comparisons, and sometimes it's just a lot of boilerplate in there. And it would be, if you can want the same feature in different ways, like you have a paragraph or a numbered list, yes, then it's just like the implementer have to implement two different ways of parsing and writing it down, or at least parsing it, without additional feature set, without getting anything more but another point of error. This is really bad design, and it happens a lot. So there are dark sides. Nevertheless, standards are very important, because it gives us the opportunity that K-Office, for instance, and LibreOffice can exchange files. So what about ODF interoperability? ODF there's, at this current state, on a high level, we can say we fully cover now the document, the interoperability of document level. I can send you a link, file that you've loaded, and you should work on it and send you back your file. This is how it works. I used to say that's a floppy disk paradigm that's being covered. What's not being covered, and what is strongly desired, is that you are able to work on the file and only send the changes what you made without the need of sending the whole file. Especially the same thing happens, for instance, for source files. If you're a programmer, you send Git patches around. So this is something which is currently not possible, and that is the feature set of the change tracking group, which exactly tries to embrace this, to do changes, to define changes for ODF that are possible to be used by real-time application like application. So how we do it is, do we invent something new? No, we just use the current existing XML and we just group it, because we need that if two applications where they have a different model, like Microsoft Office and a web browser, want to work at the same time with the same model and want to be able, after every addition, to save the same document, that naturally must have the same model, but they do not have it. So what we are doing, we go on a higher level, we abstract it, we make it into, in theory, a level that both can map to. And this has been done in a common way to look what the user thinks, what the user sees. We see these grouping like, here's an image, here's a table, here's a character. And we look at these things. And we identify this in the XML tree, and group them together, and then we simply add and delete these things and modify this, and give them a position. And these changes are being used in different ways. We can use them as coloration changes. For instance, if you have two browsers open, you use Google Docs, you might see you write in one window and the characters are being dispatched automatically to the other window. So these are the large file level changes. And if you do undo redo, you see the cursor jumps not for every character, but already for every word. What means they compress already, throw away some of the changes, but the feature set is the same semantic, right? They come to the same result. And finally, change tracking is, you don't care about how much you overwrite the paragraph in one session. All it means is what are you saving and what are you sending away. Yeah? You're not taking care of the intermediate result. You find results of interest. So, but it can be expressed and should be expressed with changes as well. So, unfortunately, this was not known in former times. StarOffice had a different notation for undo, redo, and for change tracking, which caused some problems. And one, you might know as a programmer, one of the primary sins are to copy things. Yes, you have to avoid redundancies, otherwise you have more work to do. And the basic idea is now to get these high-level operations and use them as a new lingua franca. You might use them to exchange operations. And you read an ODF, you send operations now to a browser. This is the concept that at OpenExchange we're working as a freelancer, and I'm working on mapping ODF to transformations, to these operations. It's just a different way to look at a file, right? But it's more, the file is a certain ordered set of operations, right? In like you write it down. So this is the idea we have in back in our mind. So I'd like to show you how the operations might look like in XML, right? We just have an XML like you have an at of a paragraph at which is the fifth component. So whatever there is, if there's a table or if there's another paragraph, will be moved behind, and it's also initiated with some text. Okay? Then another addition appears, and on the second, there's a new second paragraph, but you just put it on and on. It's just a list. You continue. And the interesting thing is now, what happens if you switch the two operations? We're going to do this. And there's some concept from the 80s calling operation transformation, and you can compare it with a shell game. You might see there's a guy with 3 cups, and there's a pearl behind one of them, or shells, and he's changing all the time. And the same appears here. Where's my change? If you're working on the 3rd paragraph, or if you're working on the 5th paragraph, you want to keep working on it, even if somebody else has inserted a new 2nd one. the new paragraph, in this case, we just move a little bit behind, and this is exactly what happens. You see, if you switch them, then naturally, it's like if you insert the second first, your fifth becomes the sixth paragraph. And this is the interesting way. If you have a list of these operations, all you do, you can switch two of them and compare, is one of them influence the other position. Whenever something else, or someone has inserted or deleted something in front or above me, you will be moved. Okay? And this merge will make merge so incredibly easy. Okay, so much about the change tracking thing. And now about the expect time of arrival of ODF 103. Honestly, there's only one feature set that I'm aware of that is ODF 103 is waiting, and this is change tracking, which is exactly specification. So if everything is ready, which is not the case, then we will need 48 days till we have a final ISO standard. And I will not go through all this list. Well, we were so kind to discuss this with me on the chat for some months ago. But it's the way, like, you first go make the OASIS standard with a lot of review periods, and then you, if it's a standard that the C agrees on, all the companies of OASIS have to agree on this. And if it's an OASIS standard, it will go to ISO, and ISO have to agree on this. So, long story short, in 480 days after every document is ready, and it's likely that there's a new standard. And the good news is that it seems to be that the OSBR might sponsor the work now on standardizing this. I applied or finishing this. The bad news is that the ODFTC really needs help. The problem is that the current applications, unfortunately I have to say even LibreOffice, is still being built or designed for this floppy disk. And it takes a huge effort to redesign it and make it an iterable way. And for instance, I got a discussion with Michael Meeks, and he's not very interested in this thing, so much to say. And so is the overall work impact at the moment. To see all the companies are just, they're there, but they're not pushing it forward. And I'm hoping to get more companies who want to have ODF on it, or need interoperability on the change level, like I heard on Cloud Out today, or other online editors like OpenExchange. Web ODF is there, but has little resources, and Zoho Office, maybe even Google Docs. But as soon as you have a certain size, you no longer seem to be interested in interoperability. I fear it's something to do with like a local maximum. You look at the size and see, oh, it's much better if I don't give anything away. But in the end, it's much better to have interoperability, because much more tools, the ecosystem will be much greater. So that's all from my side. Any more questions? Would you like to attend the OASIS? Okay, please.
Is the change tracking, is it as concrete as you showed us? That it's really XML elements with these attributes, or was it just a simplification?
It is just, there were 3 proposals for change tracking. Start with Delta XML, and they said, we just make, let me answer this in a large information set. They said every change is being described how we change the XML, right? Which is a very generic way, and the spec was only, I guess, 4 pages long, right? Which is fine. You take all the complexity out of the spec. But unfortunately, if you're a web browser, you are no longer aware of anything that has to do with ODF XML, because you have an HTML model, and you know about paragraphs and so on, but nothing how it looks like. Even worse, there's no normalization in XML. So there's the same document might look different in XML, and there might be some delta which not apply. So Microsoft came up with a new proposal which just extends the existing change tracking. And the existing change tracking works like it's change tracking without knowing what it changes by saving the before-after state, right? Only in XML. And Microsoft is not implementing any of this because it's not possible to change template style. Like if you want to make heading 1 red, you cannot save it with change tracking. Yes, it's a little bit hard to throw them everything away because this feature is used at I don't know 3% or even less. And change tracking is a very high recommended or high desired business feature. So you cannot currently use ODF with Microsoft in a business environment. Yes. So it's very important now that there's a new change tracking proposal which covers everything and Microsoft will implement it. And yes, there was afterwards I came up with the change tracking proposal on based on operation. There was a vote on this and it was decided to continue with these operations, right? And it can be arbitrary. The highest effort is now to identify the operations. How we serialize it is not stable yet, but it's likely that it's something like this. Like you have just a chain of events, right? I must say, of course, you can compress them because if you add something, delete it again, then it's 0, right? Addition and deletion of the same is you can normalize it. Yes. So does that answer your question, Matthias? Okay. Yes, please. Yes.
Kind of unrelated question. Do you know how far you want to this in the
good question.
ISO process?
Yes, there's an ISO meeting in 2 weeks, end of September, and as far as I know, it will be discussed or decided on this meeting. That's what I heard. I asked better back. I'm not in the ISO at the moment, so I intend to join again, especially to bring this in. When I applied to SBA, my tender was to bring this ODF standard till ISO level, right, including the specification. So I will join the ISO, but I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it should happen this month, luckily. Right?
So the decision about, you mean acceptance of this standard?
1 or 2. 1 or 2 is still not an ISO standard, right? We talk about 1 or 3 now, and 1 or 3, they didn't have even the draft yet.
Yes,
right?
it's here.
Okay, yes. So the status is that they agreed on operations for 1 and 3, and we also have a draft on this. And in the past 2 years, I've worked on an implementation on how to map features like text and spreadsheet to operations. And the nice thing is the testability will become much more easier because earlier we could only load a document and save the document, see if everything is still existing. Now we can test the feature by loading a document, applying some operations on it, like insert a table, insert a row, insert some cells and data, and we have a reference output, right? And if an application does not apply this or does not bring it, there's a defect. It's a wonderful test mechanism. And as I said, it would bring ODF to the next level. Because we are still on the floppy disk level and we're not on a collaboration level, on a high internet level. Any further questions? No? Thanks for attending, and hope this will become a success. Thank you.